In October 2001, one of the most respected airlines in the world had its planes sitting on runways across Europe. Not because of a storm, not because of a strike, because they couldn't pay for fuel. This is the story of Swissair and how the flying bank went completely broke. For decades, Swissair was the airline other airlines wanted to be: conservative, profitable, reliable. They called it the flying bank, not because it was exciting, but because it never lost money. Switzerland's national pride, cruising at 35,000 feet. But sometime in the late 1990s, the people running Swissair looked at their boring, profitable airline and decided boring wasn't good enough. Meanwhile, in European aviation at the time, everyone was forming alliances: Star Alliance, Oneworld, pooling resources, sharing routes. Swissair looked at that and said, "We're not joining anyone. We're going to build our own empire." They called it the hunter strategy, and the hunting ground was other European airlines, specifically the struggling ones. Swissair bought stakes in Sabena in Belgium, LTU in Germany, AOM in France, and several others. The vision was dominance across the continent, a Swissair-led super network that didn't need anyone else. It sounded bold. It was actually a trap. The thing about buying broken airlines is they're broken for a reason. These weren't hidden gems. They were carriers with structural losses, bloated costs, and no clear path to profitability. And now Swissair owned pieces of all of them. To fund these acquisitions, Swissair took on serious debt. As long as the good times kept rolling, they could manage it. But then September 11th happened. Air travel collapsed overnight. Revenue dried up across the entire industry. And suddenly, Swissair's debt wasn't manageable anymore. They went to the banks. The banks said no. They went back. The banks said no again. And in October 2001, it was over. Planes grounded, passengers stranded, crew told to stop flying mid-schedule. Switzerland's national airline, with a 71-year history, couldn't keep the lights on. The Swiss government eventually stepped in with an emergency bailout, not to save Swissair, but to get the planes back in the air and protect passengers. The airline itself was done. It was restructured and relaunched as Swiss International Airlines, which Lufthansa eventually acquired. The national embarrassment was real. This wasn't some regional carrier. This was Switzerland, precision, stability, and their flagship airline's card had declined at the fuel pump. The hunter strategy had one fatal flaw in its logic. It assumed that buying weak airlines would make Swissair stronger. But you don't absorb a company's market share without also absorbing its problems. You don't buy debt and call it an asset. The reason Swissair failed was because it mistook aggression for strategy. The flying bank forgot the first rule of banking: don't lend money you can't afford to lose. See you in the next one.